Welcome back to the Ref Show. We've still got some EFL incident to get through with Dean and Mark here. Let's just top and tail all the internationals over the weekend. I referred to the fact that there was a video assistant referee on duty in the team of officials at the high-profile Wembley friendly game between England and Germany, which finished 0-0. I mean, England actually showed some positive signs in that game. Pavel Gil was the referee, and it was pity in a way. There wasn't anything for us to get our teeth into.
There wasn't in the first half, because the second half I fell asleep. So.
Yeah, well, there you are.
Sorry about that, boys.
Yeah. England faced Brazil in another friendly on Tuesday after this show was recorded. Denmark-Ireland was 0-0. This was the Saturday first leg. Second leg to come in Ireland again on Tuesday evening. Mohareb Razic was the referee. No incidents. In fact, no cards at all, I think, here. Ireland had 10 players on yellow cards going into this game.
I think there's quite a few.
So to be really careful.
Yeah, there was a few players, weren't there?
Referee gets through with no cards.
It was entertaining game as well.
I think you find though with the first legs, they're always played a little bit more cautiously, aren't they, than the second leg? So it'll be interesting to see how.
I think it all depends on the referee, doesn't it, as well? You know, the quality of the referee.
Okay, well, let's go to some EFL action. Well, here's one that you particularly clocked. Well, I'll tell you what, before we go to the Carlisle-Yeovil game, which was refereed by Ben Toner, originally he was due to be covering probably the most high-profile Football League game of the weekend. That was Blackpool-Portsmouth. Lots going on in the background with the court case involving the Blackpool owners. So it was going to be a high-profile game. And then, of course, because of that court case, it was ratcheted up in priority, really.
Yeah.
And suddenly, the powers that be come in and change the referee. Now, bear in mind what I've said about Blackpool, the ownership, court case, and the fact that this referee's name, Ben Toner. Lots of people had some mischief on social media over this.
Ridiculous.
And he was switched off to the Carlisle game, and John Moss was brought in from Select Group 1. What do you make of all of that?
Well, for me, you know, these guys refereeing League 1, League 2, week in, week out, and these young guys, how are they going to get their experience if they're not refereeing these games? You know, give him it. You know, put him in.
Well, he was selected for it, but sort of the suggestion was that because of his name, and because of what people were making of it, that he was taken off.
The Football League knew what was going on with the court case. Okay, they knew this was happening. So why did they not hold back the appointment, see the outcome, what's gone on, what's happening, then make the appointment to that game? A referee with a different name. But why does it have to be a select group?
Well, I mean,
experienced team.
I've constantly on this show talk about the fact that I'm not a fan at all of referees being parachuted in to referee games at the level below. And it's got even worse now, Alan, with the event of Select Group 2. Because you're now getting Select Group 2 referees being put on League 1 and League 2 games. So these lads on the national list are not just losing games to Premier League officials, they're losing them now to Select Group 2 officials. So they really are struggling to give them the bigger, more high-profile games. And unless you give them those games, you're never going to be sure if they're ready to officiate at the next level. And for a game like this, Blackpool-Portsmouth, for the referee, who is a really promising young referee, Ben Toner, to be taken off the game with all that's around it, and for a Premier League referee to be brought in.
He can't help what his name is.
I don't think it was so much the name. I think they wanted a Premier League referee
because of what's going on. Because of the profile, the Blackpool fans all perhaps spilling onto the pitch.
But you know what? If a Football League referee can't handle that, he shouldn't be on the list. And I just find it astonishing that they would parachute a Premier League referee just because of that.
You know, we're struggling for good quality referees at the top level, and.
There's plenty below. There's lots of potential.
But we're not giving them the experience. It's like we'll come on to the Doncaster game later on. You know.
Yeah, we will. These are the cherries that they're
they need
for, aren't they? Games like this on an international.
He's a good young referee. He's a very good young referee. You know, you're not going to, as Dean says, you're not going to find out about them until you put them in these games, and they get the experience of these games. They get the experience of of these crowds, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm with Dean. I'm at a loss. I really am at a loss.
Well, John Moss came in. There was no drama apart from the fact there were 5 goals in the game, from what I can make out. Blackpool 2, Portsmouth 3. Meantime, the very promising Ben Toner was shifted off to Carlisle v Yeovil, and I know you want to refer to a good bit of teamwork, I think, in this game, where Yeovil's Dennis McGarvey punches a Carlisle player, Hope, I think it was, and gets sent off.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to say it's an excellent bit of officiating
off the ball.
By the assistant, because I mean many times you look at assistant referees and they're ball watching, and they're not looking, and there's no need for the assistant to be looking, because I think it's Yeovil coming out of their box, running away with the ball, and the assistant referee's got his eyes fixed on what's going on in the centre of the box, because there's going to be no offside. He doesn't need to look to the left. He doesn't need to look at the ball coming away. He's looking at the 9 and 5 situation in the edge of the box.
The player, isn't he, at the time that it happens. So.
And all of a sudden, off the ball incident, the assistant's clocked it.
Right.
And great, excellent teamwork by the referee and assistant referee.
Yeah. So
I think the thing, you know, we're following on very briefly from what Mark's just said there. We talk every year about, you know, these types of games and referees being parachuted in, but the problem is bigger than that, because there is just such a blockage, Alan, at the top level. Referees are not being removed at any level. Assistants are not being removed. So to get to that next level now, you literally need somebody to retire from that level. So I do fear for the way that the succession planning on the PGMOL is going. For an assistant referee at that level to be brave enough to come in and advise the referee, he should be rewarded for that.
I agree. I understand there could be a couple of select Group 1 referees coming off the list this year to go and take up the VAR position. So, you know, there may be a couple of positions up, you know, to move people.
This
through.
may improve the whole situation.
Yeah, and I would like to see Andy Madley. I really would like to see him elevated straight up to select Group 1 mid-season.
But if you look at Chris Kavanagh as an example, you look at Paul Tierney, look at Stuart Atwell, who've come on recently, last couple of seasons, not getting games.
No.
So you can give them the title of a Premier League referee, but you've got to give them plenty of games.
You're only going to get better by refereeing and getting those games and getting your match fitness in. You know, you're going to be when they come and do these games, they're going to be severely lacking in match fitness at that level.
Which brings us to Graham Scott. Now, a comment got from Keith Hackett over the weekend. Didn't see this game myself. South Yorkshire Derby, Doncaster 1, Rotherham 1. Graham Scott, who we praised on his rare Premier League appearances here on this show, according to Keith, a bit lethargic on one pace, missed 2 nailed-on penalties. How's that happened?
Well, you know, last week I praised Graham because I thought he refereed really well at Everton Watford. He picked up some excellent key match decisions. And as a referee, you're only as good as your last game, and you've got to treat every game as a cup final. Every game, whether you're in the Premier League or you're refereeing in League 1 and League 2. Because if you don't, they're potential banana skins. And I just think he's just come down thinking, oh, it's only League 1. I'll be okay. I can just stroll it. And that's where you come unstuck. And unfortunately, Graham Scott has come unstuck at Donny on Saturday.
OK, guys, that's near enough it for this week. Thank goodness these international breaks only come round every few weeks, but still too often for my liking. A great fan of club football. We get back to that. Non-league football as well. And we mentioned Salford City and your involvement there. Another Manchester area club that you'd like to bring in, Dean?
Yeah, Hyde United. I mean, it's my local club, and obviously they've had a fantastic little run in the FA Cup. Unfortunately, came to an end last week. But I've got to say the refereeing team who oversaw the game, Dave Webb was the referee. And although the game in itself wasn't a challenging game, I thought he handled it superbly well. Didn't issue a caution, managed the tempo of the game very well. And Hyde must be on a very good run at the minute, because yesterday one of our colleagues, Roger Dilks, was watching Hyde United, and young level 3 referee Paul Stonier from Stoke, who I believe is having a good season, was excellent. So Hyde must be getting all the decent officials, Alan.
Yeah.
You talk about that, excellent, and yet he's been going for promotion for the last 2 years, and he doesn't seem to be getting his promotion.
Dave Webb?
No, Paul from Stoke. Is it Stone?
Well, I think it comes back to what we said earlier about that. You know, even right, because if you've got a pyramid of promotion, which you have, in that there's a very low number of officials in the select group, and then it increases and comes down. What happens is if there's no movement at the top, it has an impact all the way down. So the number of level 3s who are promoted to 2B, and 2B to 2A, it's getting less and less every year. So that, you know, what happens is these young officials are getting a bit disillusioned, but somebody like Paul has obviously got the resilience to carry on and carry on and carry on. And you've got to put a set of marks on the FA's desk, can't you?
That's right.
Great points going from the very top of football with the internationals all the way down to grassroots and non-league. Can't say this programme doesn't cover the ground. These two have passed a bleep test for another week. They've come sprinted all that way backwards and forwards. Thanks very much, guys. See you for another Ref Show next week. Bye now.
Thank you.